Well, so long. Oh, how I hate to see you go.
No, it wasn't. As soon as my so-called death was...
Well, so long, baby. Oh, how I hate to see you go. Well, the way that I will miss you, child, I guess you'll never know. You said you once had loved me, but now I guess you've changed your mind. You said you once had loved me, yeah, but now I guess you've changed your mind. I'm gonna let you go ahead on home now, baby. Pray that you come back home sometime.
Hello, everybody. How are you tonight? Hi, Jim. How are you? Can we hear you? I think we can hear you. Can hear me, right? We're good?
Yep, I hear you fine.
All right. So I'm going to say hello to whoever's on here. Hi, Judy. Oh, a minute. Hi, Purple Green or Lynette. Of course, hi, Jim. And hi, Judy. I'll have to look that up after. She wrote something and I... Hold on a minute. I got to see what her comments are. Something and I... Hold on a minute. I got to see what her comments are. Oh, okay. Something and I... Hold on a minute. Oh, okay. I do have an Instagram. I don't know why it's not showing up. I'll look into that after and I'll see what's up with that, okay? And I'll let you know. I'll probably link it. I have an Instagram, but I'm not on it very often. Let's just say that. So let's see. Purple green. We have flowers and hearts and and hi Judy. All right. So as far as I know, I do have an Instagram. I have 2 Instagrams. I will look into that and I'll let you know. Purple green. Hi Joanne, how are you? Hi Sandy. Hi JJ. Hey, that's cool. Hi Francis. All right. Hi Julianne, how are you? Hey. Purple green, you can also message me on Facebook at the man is alive or at Joy Lori Heard. But anyway, to make a long story short. And yeah. Anyway, so YouTube hasn't come out with a messenger yet. You have a community tab, but you can't really talk to me there. So anyway. Oh, okay. No problem. But you have an Instacart. I do have Instacart, so I will give you that address as soon as I find out what it is. I think it's at I think it's at Elvis the Man is Alive.
You mean Instagram, not Instacart.
Yeah, Instagram. Yeah, excuse me. I meant she's saying Insta, and I'm like, what's Insta? I work Instacart too much. Forget it. My brain. All right. Anyway, today we are going to start chapter 9. I decided not to finish chapter 8. I had covered this before. It was about Ellen Foster and her interview on the telephone with Elvis. 2 days before his death. You can find that. I think it's in the short section of this channel. If not, I can reissue it as a short video later on. So you'll find that there. Basically, he repeats himself over and over again. You can also find the reading of that interview, I believe, under what he told his friends, which is like the 3rd or 4th live stream I did on this channel. So you'll find it there. All right. So we're going to go into credible evidences of Elvis being alive, chapter 9. This is about the pool house photo and the other photo with Muhammad Ali. I'm not sure how much I'm going to get done reading. I'm going to try to read the whole thing tonight, but she is very wordy. So if not, we'll do this in 2 parts. Instagram, yes. So as soon as I'm done, Purple Green, I'll look that up for you and you can find me there, but I'm not on Instagram very often. So, all right, I'm going to put this banner on here. All right. Okay. So the question is, if Elvis is alive, have pictures of him been taken and have there been other physical evidence? Answer. Pictures have appeared from time to time. However, since there are so many impersonators, most of these become objects of doubt. I found 2 pictures of Elvis that, in my mind, erase most doubt. One taken at Graceland and the other in a crowd scene with Muhammad Ali. Another piece of physical evidence involves a monetary gift. All these date after August 1977. So besides the voice authenticated tape and the mystery recordings of civil, there have been credible sightings, conversations, and even pictures taken of what appears to be Elvis after August 16, 1977. I originally saw Mike Joseph's celebrated pool house picture of Elvis shown on a news segment of KCOP television, Los Angeles, on January 8, 1986. Tim Malloy, co-anchor of the program, introduced the voice of Bob Welsh, a KCOP reporter, who told how Joseph got the picture. So Mike Joseph took his family to Graceland for a vacation on January 1st, 1978. Actually, it was a couple days after Christmas. This picture was taken, he said, like New Year's Eve. So anyway, close enough. And perhaps we would should say reported death. All right. It was taken 4 months after death of Elvis Presley, his reported death. And at the time, the grounds of Graceland were the only part of the estate open to the public, but Joseph took some snapshots and put them away for safekeeping. 4 years later, while reading about Presley, Joseph took out his mementos from his Graceland's visit and noticed something unusual in a shot of the bathhouse behind the mansion. It is a shadow in the lower half of the door. Joseph says he had the pictures enlarged, and the results were nothing short of startling. Someone or something bearing a remarkable resemblance to Elvis Presley was indeed sitting behind the door. The sequence of pictures, including shots of Elvis's grave, confirms that the pictures were indeed taken after Elvis Presley's death. And Joseph says he's not trying to convince anyone that Elvis still lives or that the snapshot of the image of some supernatural phenomenon. But there is something there. How it got there and what it is will no doubt remain a mystery, as much as a mystery as the entire Presley mystique. Okay, so before I go on with this, I'm going to do actually a few things. First, I'm going to show you the clip from the Elvis Files TV show with Mike Joseph. So you guys can actually get it from, I guess when you call it the actual horse's mouth, about how he got the picture and when he had it taken and so on, and how he found it. So let's do that.
And then in the privacy of your living room, Notice what seemed to be the face of Elvis Presley staring right out at you. I think you get very excited. Well, this is precisely what happened to a man named Mike Joseph on New Year's Eve Day, December 31st, 1977. Now, recently, Mike was interviewed about the events leading up to this amazing picture. Let's watch.
It was New Year's Eve, 77, when I took my wife and my son and my nephew down to Graceland. They had just opened up Memory Gardens where Elvis was laid to rest. And we were there for an hour, and we left back for home. Had the pictures developed, and looked at them, put them away. One day after reading a book, I decided to look at my pictures again. I pulled them out, and this time I saw something in one of the pictures that I hadn't seen. My God, I had Elvis Presley sitting in the doorway, looking out at the fans walking past his grave. I've had the negatives examined by Kodak. And Kodak basically says that they are original. They have not been tampered with in any way. They were taken in sequence, uncut by the negatives, being original. They can tell. The emulsion number of the film was manufactured in 77. Each roll of film that is manufactured has a manufacturing date on it in the emulsion number. This is the shot that I took of the people walking and the bathhouse in the distance. We zero in here, and this is the same shot with just the chair. No one sitting in the chair. So that shows it was not a picture of someone sitting in the chair. This is my son once again blocking the doorway, and of course the picture where I first spotted the silhouette in the doorway.
All right. How many of you think that Mike Joseph photographed Elvis Presley? May we see some hands? Well, perhaps the most convincing piece of evidence that suggests...
Okay, so that was his story of how he found the pictures, actually saw them laid out, how the order in which he took them was quite interesting. Now, the pool house does not look like that anymore, and actually they replaced that storm door with a plain door, I believe, right? It's all like blocked off, so it looks different, but it was actually taken. Now, not quite sure if this video clip I got from this channel called Jesse Burroughs on YouTube here. And they have like what they call like audio recording clips. So I'm not sure if this is actually him. Jim, you probably could tell me if not, but let's listen to his reaction in this one. If someone had made it up, we don't know, but it's really interesting.
I was concerned was when the guy took the picture of me in my pool house outside Graceland, and that damn guy caught me, and I couldn't believe it. But as time went by, I realized that the people they
Right.
didn't believe it was me. But that was one time that I was pretty concerned.
All right, so he was very nervous, very concerned.
What? Hey, play that one more time.
Play it one more time?
Yep.
The one
Hold on.
time that I was concerned was
Oops.
in my pool house.
Do it again.
The one time that I was concerned was when the guy took the picture of me in my pool house outside Graceland, and that damn guy caught me, and I couldn't believe it. But as time went by, I realized that the people they didn't believe it was me. But that was one time that I was pretty concerned.
All right. So you can get that off of a channel called Jesse Burroughs.
That's him.
Yeah, I think it is him, and he also has some other video clips on that channel that have like
Yep.
talks about Dr. Hinton, Lisa Marie, and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
So,
There's
all
one.
right,
There's one on there where he talks about Linda Sigmund too.
yeah. Okay, so I'm just gonna go over some of this stuff here. I had covered this in a prior video, but I figured we would go over it a little bit more, and I have some better photos. So Mike Joseph and his family went to Graceland to visit Elvis's grave in the meditation gardens. He took many photos that day, and when he got home, he sent them to Kodak to get them developed, and he got them back and looked at them and put them away. So in 1986, he decided to look at the pictures again, and he was looking at one picture and he noticed the figure in the corner storm door. And he took out the magnifying glass and noticed that the figure looked like Elvis Presley. Now he looked at other photos that were there taken before it, and he could see a chair in the empty front of the door. So he looked at the next one, and his child was in the way. And then he looked in the last one, and he found the figure in the door. So the negatives too. I mean, the letter from Kodak. This is the verification. I think this was from the Elvis files. I think Linda. Excuse me. Gail has a copy of that, and I think Linda might have it on her site as well. He told him the negatives were not tampered with at all. And they looked at the emulsion number, and was 1977, which is the year in which the film was made. Okay. So what happens is later on, and he changes his tune. And I think Gail will mention that in here. And he tells Larry King and Larry King Live that the man in the door was Al Strada, which we all know right here on the right, the picture of Al Strada looks nothing like the picture of the man in that doorway. All right. And basically Gail quotes him as saying, "Oh God, that's Elvis Presley." All right, when he looked at the pictures. So what they tried to do was try to debunk this picture, saying it wasn't Elvis in the door, because they didn't want anyone noticing. But to me, if I look at the other two pictures that this man is compared, same face shape, same glasses, same hair, long hair, same chin, same lips. Looks like Elvis to me. Okay. So the Nancy Rooks recollection from inside Graceland. Now, Nancy Rooks was a maid, and she told us in this book that Elvis had a barber chair in his bathroom, which he really liked. And she states that the chair was moved from his bathroom to the pool house near the swimming pool after his death. This is proof that Mike Joseph said, in fact, there was a chair in the photos. So why would they bother moving Elvis's favorite chair to the pool house if he was not there? That was the question I had. And why would they bother moving the chair in the first place? No one would need that chair in the pool house. So that was very interesting piece of information. Okay, so an Elvis found alive, he admits that he was in the pool house, and he was in that photo. He said, "I was a homeless ghost for months, and I just read books and watched the tourists." And he said it with a little giggle. So I do have that here. But I also have more of the clip, which we will watch in its entirety, because he talks about later on, he talks about the picture with Muhammad Ali as well. This is from Elvis Found Alive.
I didn't realize how much pain my death would cause folks.
I talked to him, and I told him that I finally made it here, but he had left me.
Did I go
He
too
did so
far?
much.
Hold on a minute. Yep, I did. I'm sorry, guys.
To the flag and others who gave their lives for our country.
Anything else to add about faking your death?
Well, I feel badly to this day because, you know, I know Roscoe.
So how long did you stay in the pool house? In January of 1978, a tourist took an interesting photo of someone in the door.
Yeah, that was me. I was a homeless ghost for a few months. I just read books and watched the tourists. I didn't realize how much pain my death would cause folks.
I talked to him, and I told him that I finally made it here, but he had left me.
He did so much for us. We love him so much.
I didn't understand why people liked me. I mean, I hadn't done anything special for 20 years. And even then, all I did was sing. After that photograph came out, I left for Kalamazoo, Michigan, and started in the witness protection program.
Okay, well, we all know that that's not what happened, but anyway, he did get cited he did have a sighting in Kalamazoo. We probably will cover that sooner or later in this book. We will fast forward over this when it's time for the other photographs that we're going to talk about. So I'm going to go back into reading the Elvis files. Okay, so now that we have that done, I'm going to finish reading the Elvis files. So if you can tell, he did admit that he was in the pool house. He also told Linda that he was in the pool house as well on Linda Hood Stigman's Truth.com. So there's many admissions there. All right. So the picture surely appears to be one of Elvis since his face is full, which makes sense since it was taken only 4 months after his death, and he may not yet have lost a lot of weight. And the fact that someone is looking out the door is quite clear. The black and white pool house door photo below it clearly shows Elvis, but of course I gave you the other picture, which was better, which was colored. All right, so we'll just leave it right there for now. All right, so 2 years later, in February 1988, on Breakthrough, an independent telemarketing program showed on various channels, Mike Joseph was interviewed by Leonard Grant. Joseph told how one day after reading a book, I decided to look at my pictures again. I pulled them out, and this time I saw something in one of the pictures I hadn't seen in over the years. Of course, I wasn't really studying them, but the sun had just hit the picture in such a way that it picked up an image sitting in the doorway, a shadow in the doorway. For curiosity's sake, not that I would know who was there, I wanted to see what it was. So I took my son's magnifying glass, put it on the picture, and started pulling it away from the picture to get a good visible view of it. And I was just shocked. I couldn't believe what I saw. My God, I had Elvis Presley sitting in the doorway, looking out at the fans walking past his grave. Why? I asked myself a million times. Why? I don't know. Did he fake his death? Did he have to fake his death? Why couldn't he go off to an island somewhere? Lock himself up in Graceland. I mean, I understand he stayed inside the pool house for months at a time. I remember the night of the vigil, there were something like 80,000 people outside the gates of the Graceland. All of a sudden, a car with teenagers in it, they were intoxicated, ran into the crowd, hit 3 women, 2 died. Maybe he was going to come back, fake his death, come back for an ultimate comeback. He was a practical joker. Maybe now he can't come back because of this accident. Grant next asked Joseph how we could be sure the photographs had been not tampered with. So Joseph replied that they were only the negatives I have, and that he had the negatives examined by Kodak. They were taken in sequence, uncut. By the negatives being original, they can tell The emulsion number of the film was manufactured in 77. A roll of film has a manufacturing date on the emulsion number. You couldn't pay Kodak to say something like that if it weren't true. Grant then wondered how Joseph knew it was Elvis in the chair and not simply a photograph. And so Joseph replied, because we have a photograph here, too, that shows a chair, empty, and he was sitting in. In the photograph number 4, it shows I was taking a shot of the people in the background of the house, and the bathhouse was there. And we happened to close in on that, and there's just an empty chair. It is said to have been one of Elvis's favorite chairs, one in which he sometimes got his hair cut. Elaborating somewhat on this series of shots, Joseph explained, we couldn't go near the house. This is a security guard's car. Things were sort of makeshift. It was too early. It wasn't open up to as a museum yet, so the house was closed to the public. So this is Elvis's headstone right here in the corner. In his is his mother's. So this shows that this was taken after August 16, 1977, and before 79, when his father died, because his father would be right over here. And in the 80s, his grandmother, Minnie Mae. So in the shots, I don't have a picture of that. There's only 2 graves, like 2 grave markers. Okay. So this shot that I took of the people walking to and the bathhouse in the distance, we zero in here, and this is the same shot with just the chair. No one sitting in the chair. Elvis would be seeing us sitting there and the people walking past his headstone. Having said the above, then why on Larry King Live on channel CNN on August 13, 1988, did Joseph claim not to have said he thought the picture was of Elvis? I was taped with King and Joseph and Joe Esposito on the same show. By then, I was hard at work on Is Elvis Alive? Lost Jim somewhere. But anyway, I'm sure he'll be back. Now,
Mike Joseph, he was threatened. That's why he shut up.
right. But also the Joe Esposito, I think we're going to be covering this soon. They said, now, who is in that picture? Asked King. Joseph answered, as Gail very well knows, when I had met Gail for the first time in February, it is not Elvis Presley. A moment later, I remarked, well, we have you on tape saying that you took the magnifying glass, pulled it back, and you said, my God, it is Elvis Presley. And he did say it on the Elvis files. We have it on video. So we know he said it. So he backtracked. And Joseph said that he swore it was Elvis Presley up until last year, King said. What changed your mind? Okay. MJ, which is Mike Joseph. What changed my mind, I had met a couple of Elvis's friends. One of them was George Klein, who was a friend along with Joe Esposito. And as soon as George took the picture, he knew it wasn't Elvis. I thought I would catch Joe by surprise and say, Joe, can you tell me who this is? I expected him to say it's Elvis. And then I was gotta hit him with the date when it was taken. Why haven't you notified us and when you presented us with the pictures? This GG. Anyway. Oh, Gail. When I met Gail had said to me they wanted to use the pictures. And Gail says, right. And all I said, well, it's not Elvis Presley. They said it's okay. The picture is for this book is Elvis Alive, and this book is really based on hypothetical ideas of pointing it out of what would happen if Elvis was alive. We never said that, Gail said. So I said to them that, well, as long as I'm telling you this, that's it. And they said, okay. So I went down to LA and made a deal with them to use it. At that time, Gail said, would you like to appear with me on the television shows? To tell you the story, we have you on tape telling your story. Larry King, Phil Donahue. I said, yeah, great. I didn't know what they were going to do with this. So about 3 days later, I did this film that she was talking about, saying that what had happened with the picture. I never said it was Elvis Presley. He's full of crap. I just said the picture was taken there. And Gail said, yes, you did. We all saw it. It was on tape just now. We just saw it. He said, oh my God, it's Elvis Presley. I don't know why he lies, but he did. So then I left LA. 3 days later, I got a call from one of her associates saying they would like to buy the rights to the picture. They knew I was just going to dispense with it anyway from that time on. And then Larry King says, the only way you know that it's not him is that a friend of his said it wasn't him. And MJ said, no, they don't know who it is, right? And then MJ said, basically, my wife had brought it to my attention. She was on the trip with me. As she remembers not too long ago, there was a guy standing in the pool area with glasses on and everything. George Klein had told me that he didn't say Alstrada because Alstrada can look a little bit like Elvis. But George Klein told me it was his cousin Jimmy, who Elvis never liked. And after Elvis supposedly died, Jimmy would then come around and then hang around Graceland. And it's not Elstrada, it's Jimmy. One guy says it's Jimmy. Joe said you say it's Alstrada. And then J.E. says, yes, I do. All right. Larry King says, well, we have 3 different opinions, but you're the photographer and you're not saying that you never said it's Elvis. MJ, I never told them it was Elvis. In fact, the contract I have with her associate say the likeness of Elvis Presley. It said it right in front of me. Okay, I understand we have a tape here where you're saying it is Elvis. I'm not verifying that. Is there a tape where you're saying it is Elvis? Are you aware of a tape that you're saying that? Now that's Larry King asking him that. No, well, I wish they'd play it. We have it. Play it, Gail says. So keep in mind the above dialogue that Mike Joseph says he changed his mind after meeting with 2 of Elvis's friends, George Klein and Joe Esposito. But Esposito, who thought it must have been Strada, had admitted earlier in the show that Strada does not look like Elvis except in this picture. Now, this is Elvis to me. I mean, we have a picture here with Strada. Strada looks like this. And even in the 70s, he didn't look like Elvis that much. He might have wore a pair of sunglasses similar to Elvis, but he still does not look like that man in the picture. All right. And I think Jim had messaged Strada at one point as well. I don't know where Jim went. So when he comes back on, I'll have him, if he gets back on, I'll have him tell you his story that he had. But anyway, most important, who changed Joseph's mind? Although Mr. King had a breakthrough video in his possession and could have then and there publicly displayed to the viewers the change of the story, this was not done. As for Elvis's cousin Jimmy, Elvis had a cousin, Jimmy Gamble, son of Elvis's first double cousin, Patsy Presley Gamble. Indeed, Jimmy resembles his cousin Elvis. However, Jimmy is only in his 20s at this writing and would only have been in his early to mid-teens at the time of the pool house picture was taken. Anyone who has viewed the pool house picture knows that it was not a young teenage boy sitting there. And as for Al Strada, the extract from the letter from Todd H. of Maryville, Indiana, is revealing about this picture taken at the back of Graceland showing what looks like Elvis. I heard that this is Al Strada, but when I was in Memphis this year, I was at a Days Inn and they had Strada there as a guest, and he told the crowd of people that it was not him in the picture. And he told Jim the same thing. He was in Alaska at the time when that picture was taken, so it couldn't be Al Strada. More in January 18th, 1983, the issue of Globe, an interview of Mike Joseph by John Blackburn was printing concern the pool house photo. The article was headlined, "Can this be proof that Elvis is alive?" Joseph is quoted as saying, "On New Year's Day, 1978, my family and I decided to visit Graceland, and I brought along a 35 millimeter camera. Some movement inside the back of the house caught my attention. Through the glass door, I could see a man wearing glasses, dark glasses, sitting in the chair, staring out at the crowds. It was definitely Elvis, not a ghost, but Presley in the flesh. I almost dropped my camera as I turned to my wife and said, 'Oh my God, it's him. I just saw Elvis Presley. I really did.' But when I looked again, he was gone. Only the chair remained. My wife, of course, and I was imagining things. I felt embarrassed and agreed, so I wiped the incident out of my mind. Later, I decided to dig out my old pictures from our trip to Graceland. This time, I really scrutinized them and was shocked to discover that in one photo you could distinctly see the seated figure behind the glass door. It can't be, I thought. It just can't be. But after I viewed the figure through my son's magnifying glass, I realized I hadn't imagined my glimpse of Presley nearly 5 months after his reported death, because my camera had also captured his image. So now he changes his tune again. It gets really confusing. One story does not match the other story. So what made him change his mind? And I think that's what she's asking. So after the pool house photo became known to Graceland, the pool house door was built solid, no glass, so that no one could see in. Once again, I stress obviously changed was Mike Joseph's story after his encounters with Joe Esposito and George Klein. Note also that in the Larry King interview, Joseph said his wife brought it to his attention that there was a guy standing at the pool area with glasses and everything. Yet in his Globe interview, he said he noted a man sitting behind the glass door. Maria Columbus and many others, including this author, met personally with Joseph in California, and he told the same story he gave to KCOP and the breakthrough. We have many witnesses to this. Again, why did Joseph tell a different story on Larry King show in August 1988, when only a year earlier, in an interview with Jane Vandervoot, of the Toronto Sun in August of 1987, he talked about pulling out the pictures taken at Graceland, got out his son's magnifying glass, and couldn't believe what I saw. It was strange because he's not in any other pictures. The article states that the photo left Mr. Joseph breathless. A lot of people think he faked his death, said Joseph. If he did die, his father was still alive, and why would he allow an impersonator inside the house? He said at the suggestion of a Presley look-alike. Obviously, Mr. Joseph believed it was Elvis, enough to sell the temporary rights to Playboy magazine, according to his interview with the Los Angeles KCOP TV in January of 1986, again repeating this sale to the Toronto Sun interview. Joseph also repeated this belief when selling the rights to the pictures to the man allowing us their use. And when Joseph sent the negatives to Kodak, he must have believed it was Elvis, for he took pride in stating that Kodak said the film showed no sign of being altered in any way. An added note, some have suggested that the man sitting behind the pool house door could be Elvis look-alike Johnny Hara, who was used in the docudrama This Is Elvis, filmed in part at Graceland. However, This Is Elvis was not filmed until more than 2 years later. So although the following short section does not describe an credible sighting of Elvis, it will establish for the reader the mutual connection, for the Muhammad Ali as well as for Elvis to Michigan. All right. So now she's going into the picture with Muhammad Ali. Okay. And I think we're going to stop there and we can pick it up next week on that part. So I'm going to say, after looking at this photo comparison, to me, it's definitely, in my mind, Elvis Presley. Of course, we have a bunch of video admissions and an admission on Linda Hood Sigmund's Truth as well. All right. So we kind of missed Jim here. I think he got disconnected somehow. I'm having thunderstorms here, so it could be a possibility. It's a mild one, it's not a major one, so it shouldn't affect my power or anything. But all right, I'm gonna pick up where I left off on greetings, everybody. I believe it was Mary Cole. Hi, Mary. How are you tonight? You're welcome, Purple Green. Hope that sightings are true. That's real Elvis alive. Well, Elvis is alive. All right. Still. Hi, Diana. How are you tonight? All right. Hi, Orion Girl 8. How are you tonight? Kodak authenticity of the negatives. Correct. True. And like I said, I don't know what happened to Jim. He might have just got disconnected somehow. Yes, the clips from amplified. Right. The only question about the pool house photo is I thought he was in Argentina or Brazil at the time. Well, we're looking at, this is New Year's, this is Christmas time. So he's probably home at Christmas time. He was probably in, like, traveling around. From what I understand, he did come back. He left for a while and came back. So, yeah. I'm going to say he was home probably for the holidays. His birthday, too, But he said he was a homeless ghost for a few months. So I had a little bit of a chuckle with it. But anyway. Because ES told them, wants this chair. Right. And the funny thing is that why would they put his chair? That was the question I had. I mean, Nancy Rook said they moved his chair from his bathroom to the swimming pool area. In the swimming house. Why pool house? So why would they need a chair in there if no one was in there? That was a good question. And that answers my question. All right. Yeah, amplified video, right. So Elvis Found Alive. Remember, I have a video. If you guys have not seen that video, Jesse's admission that he used his voice for that video. Not all of it is completely the truth, but most of it is. Definitely the admission that he was in the pool house photo and in Muhammad Ali photo is true because he did admit to it on Linda's site. So he is indeed alive. Wish she could talk with him. Laugh out loud. So much we could discuss. True. He is alive. Yeah, we can't talk to him. Melinda can, but she hasn't heard from him lately, so I'm just letting you guys know I keep checking her site. As far as I know, he's doing the same. He hasn't changed much, I guess. I'm with you at Vicky. Back of my head, never believed he left us. Correct. All right. Definitely Elvis in that picture. Hi, Joanne. Yes. Elvis will never ever a ghost because he is real. Correct. And there is a I think there is a quote I had from Lee Elena Nash video where Billy Smith talks about his encounter out by the pool, out by the graves, and he hears his name called, and it freaks him out. He's thinking he's seeing a ghost when it was really Elvis calling him, I never believed he died in August 1977. Never thought he looked as sick as some claimed. Yeah, well, he did. He was pretty sick. He had really bad colon and he needed surgery. And he was addicted to some of his pain medicine and sleeping pills. So he got off those. So he was doing much better after I think the lifestyle was killing him, And he had the threats as well from the mafia, which is different reason. But I do have a video out if you get anyone who hasn't seen it, the reasons why he would fake his death. That might have been an early version, an early live. I'm gonna deal with my early lives. They were pretty bad. I might redo the video again, maybe another day. So maybe I look forward to getting a new video. All right, so I'm going to try to hurry up because I do have a thunderstorm warning at 9:15. It's now 8:48, so I'm going to finish up these comments and we're going to get off, okay? He was definitely sick, so he had to retire. Exactly. I do believe he was not well, but not dying. Well, he did say that if he continued with what he was doing, he wouldn't have lived longer than a year. He would have died of that condition because he couldn't go to the bathroom. He looked well, so we might have to do something about his health. Yeah. I always thought the end he did look sick. However, to me, he never looked like he was 350 pounds. No, I'm going to say he was like 270 or something like that, around there. Not dying, just needed colon surgery. Yeah, but he had like a backup problem. That's why he was so bloated looking. He had really, really, really bad constipation and stuff. He would have probably died from that or other exhaustion and other things. If he continued on as Elvis, he wouldn't have preferred. Elvis was a very vain person and he did not want his image tarnished. Elvis was untarnished. He did not want to walk around with a colon bag or any kind of bag or let anyone know he was sick or ill. But there was other reasons why he faked his death besides that. So, hi, Barbara. How are you tonight? No. I think he said he was 270 or something. I don't know. He could have been a little heavy. He was pretty heavy in his last concert, but I don't think he was that heavy. Do agree with you. Put a tiny bit of weight, no double chin, still looked gorgeous. Yes. Oh, good. I'm glad you're doing well. Hi. Chilling in Canada. How are you tonight? I am so glad he has had all these years of a quiet life and to be free. He's somewhat free, but he's not completely free because he's still underneath a lot of protection. And that he obviously has help now with his health. He has bad health, so. But yeah, his life is somewhat more peaceful and he's a lot more freed as far as like his fame. But people want to know why if he did do videos and he's in silhouettes because he doesn't want his image shown. And he only allowed he allowed 3 photos, but 1 real photo after a certain date. And that was the Jesse photo. Hello from Brazil. How are you, Alexandre? Alexandre. Good. Wow. Cool. All right. I'm glad that went well for you. I don't. All right. Cool. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to have to get off soon, so I'll finish this up. I have not heard any new updates on how he is doing. As far as I know, he's dealing with aging and all his pains. Yes, God bless you, Mary. We'll talk to you guys later. I'm going to have to get off soon. I'm having a severe thunder shower outside. Yeah, he had to do what he had to do. Yes, thank you. All right. Yes, God bless you all. I'm going to just leave with a quick little spelling on the stone video. You guys have a good night. God bless y'all. And we'll talk next week for part 2. We're going to talk about the photo with Muhammad Ali.
On the stone.
The legend lives, never dies. It's up to you
Sing the song.
to decide.
Say the word, and I'll come home. Check the spelling on the stone. Just check the spelling on